Welcome to the chaotic, cutthroat world of Pierpoint & Company, a prestigious investment bank in London, where a group of ambitious, morally flexible graduates are currently vying for a handful of coveted permanent positions on dreaded reduction in force day. Let us meet the brave souls diving headfirst into this financial shark tank. First up is Yasmin Karahanani, a privileged grad in foreign exchange. Her day-to-day achievements mostly include tolerating her awful boss Kenny and being the team's unpaid assistant. Then there is Robert Spearing, the charming Oxford alum and a certified party boy in cross-product sales. He has a little crush on Yasmin, which is cute, but his manager, Clement Cowan, does not exactly take him seriously. Over in investment banking is Gus Saki, another Oxford grad, brimming with self-confidence and gay. He has an on-and-off situationship with Theo, who insists on keeping it secret because, well, he has a girlfriend. Finally, we meet my girl, Harper Stern, the American whirlwind of the group. Harper is not actually a graduate, but she expertly fakes her credentials and works in cross-product sales under Daria Greenock and managing director Eric Tao. Everyone in this building desperately wants to prove their worth, and this ambition tragically pushes one graduate, Hari, who did not come from a prestigious school, to the absolute brink. He hits the drugs and sleepless nights hard, and this ultimately leads to his tragic death. Harper's big break comes when Daria invites her to a dinner with a big client, Nicole. This was not even supposed to be a pitching dinner because the woman never listens to anyone, yet Harper makes her listen. She pitches Nicole on buying a cheap, highly leveraged bet that US government bonds are about to lose value because the economy looks troubled. It is an extremely risky move, but if the market turns in Harper's favor, the payoff could be massive. Harper is understandably flying high about her success until the client touches her inappropriately. She completely freezes the client out for a few days, refusing to contact her, until Eric urges her to re-engage and Nicole buys in. The team attends a mandatory dinner where Kenny humiliates Yasmin in front of everyone. Harper stands up for her, sparking a friendship. Harper encourages Yasmin to seize opportunities instead of waiting for them, and Yasmin offers her spare room to stay. This is where Harper gets the brilliant idea for her next big pitch: the housing market. If the economy tanks, people stop buying luxury homes, construction companies suffer, and stock prices crash. Harper also layers this with a gold bet, predicting that investors will flock to safe haven assets during instability. With the firm's big client, Phelim, dumping Eric for insulting his wife, Harper is tasked with pitching this idea to Daria's client Aubrey without consulting her. Daria shuts her down, which sends Eric into a full meltdown, screaming on the trading floor about how Pierpoint is not a hand-holding firm. When Harper gets the opportunity to speak to Aubrey, the man refuses the deal. However, he buys in on Daria's original pitch. Except the man said buy $50 million, not 50 million pounds. Because pounds and dollars are not the same thing, that tiny slip morphs into a six-figure loss on Pierpoint's books. Harper tries to fix it with a new, risky trade that initially pays off, erasing the debt and giving her a small gain. But Harper gets greedy and watches it dump. She waits, thinking it will bounce back, only to end up back at a crippling $140,000 debt, which completely breaks her. She attempts to pitch a trade to Nicole, but Nicole refuses. Harper has no choice but to report this to Eric. Although Eric already knows she did not graduate, he protects her. Apparently, Nicole later came through with the trade right before close, buying at a bad price for herself, which created a massive profit for Pierpoint's desk and effectively erased Harper's debt. Eric finished it off by fixing the books, and all that is recorded is the $200,000 profit that was made. Desperate to win back Phelim Butchen, Eric delegates Harper to track him down, since the man will not talk to him. Harper tracks down Phelim's assistant and sets up a meeting under Daria's name, which pops up on Daria's calendar. Phelim stands firm on his decision not to return to Pierpoint, which leads Harper to reveal to Daria that Phelim left because of Eric. This really infuriates Eric, who locks Harper in an office and verbally abuses her for giving Daria the ammunition needed to kick him out of the company. Harper, not realizing how nuclear this is, mentions it to Daria at a party, so Daria and Sarah Peer, the head of cross-product sales, use this to finally kick Eric out. Before Eric left, he had given Harper a $50,000 bonus, which was essentially hush money, though Harper assumed she just earned it. When she reveals at a party Yasmin organizes for her incompetent boyfriend that she was paid $50,000 instead of the $25,000 everyone else got, the company asks her to return the extra money. It does not end there. Even though Harper basically handed Daria Eric's position, come Rift Day, Daria is telling Harper she does not seem like a cultural fit and will not be voting for her to get permanently hired. Harper begins to freak out, even bombing her interview. All hope is lost, until Bill Adler steps in. Bill explains that Eric's clients bring in 60% of Pierpoint's revenue, and the firm cannot afford for Eric to walk away with them. He promises Harper a job if she retracts her accusations. She does. Even though Daria later spoke up for her at the RIF panel, mostly because Harper threatened to reveal Daria put her in front of a client, Nicole, that sexually assaulted her, which already got her the job before Bill offered his deal, Harper knows Daria does not truly have her back. She lies, claiming Daria pressured her to fabricate the abuse story, and Daria is immediately fired. After Hari's death, his team is dissolved, and Gus is moved to cross-product sales, Robert's team. Here, we quickly learn that Robert is not really that finance-learned, but he uses his party boy charm to win clients, while Gus does all the tedious research. Gus ultimately becomes a background character, which is not his thing at all, and he eventually leaves Pierpoint. Despite Robert being a cokehead, he secures a permanent position too, because sometimes all clients really need is a good time. Yasmin also gets a permanent position, but only because Kenny decided it made perfect sense to hire a stripper to sexually harass Yasmin at a client meeting. Their senior manager, who is almost never at his desk, offers to speak on her behalf if she agrees not to take the matter to HR, and thus, our morally flexible graduates all get their permanent jobs. Season 2 kicks off in a post-COVID world where everyone is back at the office, except for Harper, who is currently hiding out and worrying about her reputation after the bridge-burning finale of last season. Even while she's physically absent, Harper is already cooking up her next big play by targeting Jesse Bloom, a hedge fund titan who made a fortune shorting the travel and hospitality industries during the pandemic, earning himself the nickname Mr. COVID and enough money to treat the entire financial world like a playground. Harper purposely lodges at his hotel, orchestrating a few occasional run-ins as she slowly musters the courage to make her high-stakes pitch. The overarching threat this season is a looming consolidation between the London and New York branches, with rumors rampant that New York is looking to eat the underperforming London office. To speed things along, Bill Adler sends DVD to London to act as a dual manager alongside Eric, though his real job is to evaluate who is a cultural fit and who is just dead weight. This puts massive pressure on the London team to land a big one to prove their worth, but that is easier said than done for Yasmin. She recently lost her big client and friend Maxim after he went broke, but he manages to introduce her to Celeste, the head of private wealth management. To cement her place, Yasmin swallows her pride and asks her estranged old money father, Charles Hanani, to bring his fund to Pierpoint. However, the situation takes a dark turn when Yasmin learns her dad is practically broke from settling sexual assault claims over the years. Worse, she discovers he also groomed her nanny, and when she confronts him, he reveals that he actually bought her the job at Pierpoint. Disgusted, Yasmin cuts him off, and he retaliates by cutting her off financially, leaving her broke and homeless since she never even had a separate bank account. While Yasmin is navigating family drama, Robert tries to revive the dormant account of Nicole Inne, the client who sexually harassed Harper last season. History repeats itself when Nicole sexually harasses Robert as well, but he doesn't take it seriously and is just happy to finally have a client of his own. Things get uncomfortable when Harper hints that Nicole sexually assaulted her too, making Robert feel far from special. When a desperate new graduate crashes their dinner to secure a client for rough day, Nicole discards Robert for fresher prey and assaults the new girl as well. Unlike the others, this graduate reports the assault, but the toxic workplace buries the situation, and she eventually leaves the firm. Harper is so fixated on landing Jesse Bloom that she misses a crucial meeting Eric set with Phelim, choosing instead to watch Jesse speak. This has major consequences. Eric has been banking on a massive trade involving Rican health stocks to save the London office, but the deal requires Phelim to act as the anchor. In investment banking, an anchor is the client so big that their participation gives a trade credibility and encourages others to follow. Since Harper stood him up, Phelim backs out, leaving the trade dead in the water. That is, until Harper mentions that Jesse Bloom is interested. No one takes her seriously at first, and it's almost funny watching Eric's disappointment when he thinks Phelim is calling back, only for it to be Jesse on the line asking for Harper. Jesse is willing to replace Phelim as the anchor, but he needs confirmation that Anna Gearing's data-driven fund is on board, since her smart money approval would signal legitimacy to the market. Harper isn't on speaking terms with Anna, and the only person who can reach her is Yasmin, who currently hates Harper's guts. To force Yasmin's hand, Harper calls her out over the global office microphone, claiming the firm will lose millions if she doesn't help. Pressured, Yasmin makes the call. Harper cleverly avoids asking Anna outright if she's buying. Instead, she mentions a specific dollar amount they supposedly bought for her, and when Anna corrects the figure, it signals that she is indeed preparing to enter the Rican trade. When the market opens, Pierpoint plans to sell $50 million in stock, but Jesse Bloom comes in over the top and buys $70 million. The move saves the London office and earns Harper a round of applause on the trading floor. Despite the win, Eric remains unimpressed because Harper effectively handed Phelim's anchor trade to Mr. COVID. He worries this move permanently alienates Phelim, so he organizes a celebratory getaway, with the real intention of having Harper convince Jesse to sell his shares back to Phelim. The plan derails when Harper overhears Rican's CEO discussing page 27, intentionally hidden from Anna Gearing. Rican pitched itself as a healthcare disruptor that would lower costs and enter the US market, but page 27 reveals that if Rican actually lowers its prices to enter America, it would have to suspend all dividends to shareholders. The CEO and Pierpoint, with Eric's full knowledge, removed that page from the pitch deck to ensure Jesse's sale to Phelim goes through smoothly. Eric's plan was for Jesse to take a quick profit, sell to Phelim, and then flip Rican to a healthcare conglomerate. Harper sees a bigger opportunity after meeting Aurora Adekunle, a Tory MP on the Health and Social Care Select Committee, who confirms the government is willing to support Rican only if it delivers on its lower price promise. Instead of following Eric's short-sighted plan, Harper encourages Jesse to buy enough shares to take a controlling interest in the company. She strikes a side deal with Anna, who agrees to sell part of her stake in exchange for being allowed to handpick the board of directors. Harper believes Rican has real long-term growth potential. The next morning, while the team waits to finalize the sale to Phelim, Harper is already back at the office executing the trade. She buys Anna's shares for Jesse, sabotaging Eric's strategy, destroying his relationship with Phelim, and slashing his quarterly earnings so badly that he's shipped off to a retirement home department. Even with Jesse Bloom, New York still plans to usurp London. DVD confirms Harper has a spot back in New York, but she can't afford to return. She originally left when her twin brother escaped their toxic mother, and though Harper later found him in Berlin, he wants nothing to do with her because she contributed to the pressure their mother placed on him. For Harper, going back to New York feels like accepting defeat. Instead, she approaches Eric with a plan to jump ship together to a new firm. They also bring Richie and DVD along, but the only viable firm wants Jesse Bloom as part of the package. Things are rocky because Jesse is a narcissist, and Harper ignored his calls while dealing with her brother's drama. To get back into Jesse's good graces, she suggests he short a Rican competitor called Fast Aid. Unfortunately, retail traders start pumping the stock, causing Jesse to lose millions. Desperate to fix the mess, Harper commits insider trading by pestering Gus, now working for Aurora, into revealing that Amazon is about to buy Fast Aid without due diligence. Harper tells Jesse to stop shorting Fast Aid, but instead of just doing that, Jesse instructs her to buy more Rican shares. He then goes on TV, saying he trusts the UK government to do its due diligence on the acquisition, indirectly ensuring that due diligence actually happens. The announcement tanks Fast Aid's stock while boosting Rican's, allowing Jesse to profit massively from both sides of the trade. Dumbfounded, Harper confesses everything to Eric, who agrees to keep it secret. With Jesse back in her corner, Harper and Eric pitch Bill on cutting loose the rest of the team, including DVD and Richie, and keeping only themselves. Bill agrees, but the next day, Harper arrives at work to find Richie still at Pierpoint, even though DVD has been fired. Eric claims he secured a spot for Richie, which initially reassures Harper, until he leads her into a private office. Harper panics, assuming this is about the insider trading, but instead she's fired for falsifying her university transcript to get into Pierpoint. Eric essentially stabbed her in the back, even though he was basically dead weight she had been carrying around as part of a package deal. It's also revealed that Aurora intentionally leaked the information to Gus, knowing he would tell Harper. The order to skip due diligence came directly from Aurora's boss, and she couldn't challenge it herself, so she used Gus as a proxy. Gus is ultimately fired, and ends the season working for Jesse Bloom after tutoring the billionaire's son. Season 3 centers on the disastrous IPO of Lumi, a green energy startup led by the erratic and entitled Henry Muck. Pierpoint bets everything on this ethical venture, yet the launch is a total catastrophe from the jump. First, there is a massive power outage that makes everyone look incompetent, and then, the CEO tries to save face by speaking to the press. Unfortunately, the only thing the reporter actually hears is that a major investor has exited the chat, which causes the stock price to sink further. The trading floor is in a full-blown panic, and even the pop-up once in a while Bill Adler is present. This is exactly where Yasmin steps in to save the day. Since Harper got the boot, Yasmin has essentially taken her place under Eric's wing. Their relationship is definitely less toxic than the Harper era, and it feels a bit like gentle parenting mixed with some very suspicious energy, because it really seems like Eric might be catching feelings for her. Yasmin has been dealing with her own nightmare because her father, Charles Hanani, embezzled roughly £500 million from his company's pension fund. Instead of being a responsible adult, he used that money to fund a debauched lifestyle and then vanished into thin air. Because a photo of Yasmin looking glamorous on a yacht went viral, the public thinks she is living it up on stolen money. People are hassling her and reporters are following her every move, so she decides to weaponize this unwanted fame to shift the Lumi narrative. She orchestrates a run-in by taking a drugged-up Henry to an exclusive gentleman's club because she knows Gregory Clark from British Electric is there. She calls in a tip to the paparazzi that Yasmin Hanani is at the club, knowing they will show up for the drama. She then positions Henry to shake Gregory's hand just as he is leaving. Even though Gregory has no clue what is happening and is just trying to walk to his car, the resulting photos make it look like a massive acquisition is in the works. This fake news gives the stock the boost it needs. Was Harper ever going to stay sidelined for long? Definitely not. After being fired from Pierpoint, she finds herself working as a lowly secretary for Anna Gearing at Future Dawn. She is mostly doing grunt work, until she manages to catch the eye of Petra Koenig. Petra is a sharp and experienced portfolio manager who immediately recognizes Harper's potential, especially when Harper suggests a brilliant way to offset their losses on the Lumi disaster. Petra executes the trade without Anna's consent, which forces Anna to update her contract, removing Petra's trading autonomy, and an ironclad non-compete is slapped on top. Realizing she is being boxed in, Petra and Harper decide to go rogue by starting their own fund and poaching Anna's investors right under her nose at the Swiss climate panel. At first, none of the big players take them seriously. Everything changes when Harper weaponizes the Pierpoint analyst publication. While the report was supposed to be a glowing buy recommendation to signal that Lumi was a safe investment, the analyst actually issued a hold instead. Harper reveals this publicly at the panel right while Eric is busy buttering up the crowd, which causes the stock to crater and leaves Eric looking completely humiliated. To twist the knife, Harper introduces herself as an investment banker who just launched a new fund with Petra. This gutsy move catches the attention of Otto Mosten, who is a powerful publisher and Henry Muck's uncle. He is so impressed by their ruthlessness that he decides to invest in their new venture, which they officially name Leviathan Alpha. Even though they are technically on opposite sides, Yasmin helped Harper by securing the trading stats Petra needed to pitch the fund. In exchange, Yasmin demanded that the fund's trades be managed by Pierpoint with her name attached to the account. The best part of the whole ordeal is Eric's reaction, because he nearly bursts a blood vessel when Harper introduces herself as his newest client. And Harper doesn't stop there. When Sweet Pea, a Gen Z trader who is actually much smarter than the partners give her credit for, realizes Pierpoint is drowning in debt from taking loans to float ESG companies that keep flopping like Lumi, she takes it to Eric. He brushes it off, but Harper happens to be eavesdropping in the bathroom while Sweet Pea vents to Yasmin. Knowing that is insider trading, Harper doesn't outrightly tell Petra Pierpoint is in debt. Instead, she tells Petra that several banks have ESG-linked loans nearing maturity that they simply cannot pay back. Petra then uses her elite contacts to pose as a potential buyer for these mini companies, just to see how deep the debt goes. While most banks only have about 6 to 10 of these risky ESG companies on their books, they discover that Pierpoint is sitting on a staggering 60. They manage to confirm this through Yasmin, who is essentially the inside man without even realizing it. Harper actually has a moment of hesitation here, because she knows Yasmin is currently grieving the death of her father. As we now know, Charles Hanani jumped into the sea after an argument where Yasmin told him she wished he were dead, and she stood there and watched him drown without calling for help. Harper was the one who comforted her in the aftermath, which made Yasmin trust her more than ever, but that trust shatters completely when Yasmin gets fired. She realizes Harper and Petra used her to get the list of Pierpoint's ESG companies under the guise of facilitating a trade, when they were actually planning a heist. The confrontation is legendary because Yasmin finally blows up and calls Harper a narcissistic exploiter who used her while she was distracted by her father's surfaced body. Harper, never one to back down, fires back by calling Yasmin weak and a user, which leads to an iconic exchange of slaps. While it is hard not to feel bad for Yasmin in this moment, Harper's defense is basically that business is business, and Petra was going to use Yasmin's naivete with or without her. To put the final nail in the coffin, Leviathan Alpha shorts Pierpoint for £500 million through Goldman Sachs. In a hilarious twist of fate, Kenny and all the other ex-Pierpoint workers now work at Goldman, meaning the people Pierpoint discarded are the ones who officially helped bankrupt the bank. With the Pierpoint stock plummeting, Eric, Bill Adler, and the rest of the partners find themselves trapped in a high-stakes war room as they desperately hunt for a buyer to prevent total liquidation. Because it is an election year, the U.S. Treasury refuses to offer a bailout, which forces the bank to pivot toward Barclays. While the rest of the committee is focused on survival, Bill is dead set against it because he views Barclays as a usurper that would strip Pierpoint of its legacy. However, the committee values staying afloat over tradition, so they initially agree to the trade only for it to fall through due to massive regulatory issues. This failure leads the firm back to Bill's plan B, which involves getting Mitsubishi to buy a significant stake in the bank. This move would provide the immediate cash flow needed to pay off those maturing loans, while allowing Pierpoint to maintain its identity. The catch is that Mitsubishi needs a sacrificial lamb to blame for the ESG disaster, and Bill decides that Wilhelmina, the chief execution officer, is the perfect scapegoat. He figures that pinning the mess on her will convince the Japanese investors that the problem has been purged, and the bank is once again a safe bet. However, Eric proves to be the ultimate snake by turning on his longtime friend. Realizing that Bill is a sinking ship and wanting to curry favor with the committee to potentially take Bill's place, Eric decides to weaponize a deep personal secret. Earlier in the season, Bill had privately confessed that he was suffering from a terminal brain tumor, and Eric chooses the exact moment the Japanese delegation is ready to sign to strike. Just as Bill is about to finalize the maneuver, Eric purposely points out a supposed mistake on the documents. Even though Bill didn't catch it, Eric insists they discussed it in the bathroom earlier, which causes Bill to spiral and start questioning his own mental clarity. This psychological gaslighting forces Bill to confess his tumor to the board, and he is immediately told to go home. In a final twist of the knife, the board decides to lay the entire ESG failure at Bill's feet too, effectively firing him and breaking his heart. With his friend out of the way, Eric officially ushers in his own plan to save the company by bringing in a state-owned investment fund belonging to Egypt, Al-Miraj, to pick up the pieces. Eric's betrayal doesn't even get him the crown he was angling for. Once Al-Miraj steps in, they cut staff immediately, but he walks away with enough money to never have to look at a trading terminal again. While the bank was sinking, Rishi tried to play both sides by feeding Harper inside information about the potential Barclays deal so she would know when to take her profits. But Petra wouldn't let them take profit as she believed the deal would fail due to regulatory issues. This makes Harper reveal why they need to stop the short now, or they start looking suspicious. Petra doesn't understand how not stopping raises red flags until Harper reveals how she got the idea to short Pierpoint in the first place, which is basically insider trading. Petra starts panicking because the lines are getting too blurred for her comfort, and she even goes to Otto Moston to try and dump Harper. In a hilarious twist, Otto actually prefers Harper's win at all costs energy and offers her a job instead. Harper tries to do the right thing for once by sticking with Petra and returning Otto's startup investment. But her straight and narrow phase lasts about 5 minutes before she gets bored and realizes she is born to be a predator. Before she leaves for New York, Harper makes sure to get her revenge on Rishi by humiliating him and refusing to give him a job. Instead, she hires Sweet Pea and Anraj, a junior trader, leaving Rishi unemployed and drowning in gambling debts. This has the most tragic consequence of the series, because since Rishi can't pay his enforcers, they show up at his house and kill his wife. It is a grim reminder that while Harper is making the Forbes 30 Under 30 list and planning her short-only fund, which is basically finding companies with hidden secrets, shorting them, and leaking their secrets to the press while making a fortune with a freshly paroled Jesse Bloom, the people she leaves behind are dealing with literal life and death. After Charles's death, Hanani Publishing offers to reimburse the employees he stole from, but only if Yasmin becomes the public face of the scandal and admits she knew about the embezzlement. She is cornered until Maxim delivers the real leverage. A list of women Charles sexually assaulted, many of whom were later employed by Hanani Publishing after signing NDAs. The implication is damning. The company wasn't just complicit, they were part of the cover-up. Yasmin uses this to blackmail the CEO into leaving her alone, but she still can't face a life without soft landings. Even though she and Robert share a genuine love, she gets engaged to Henry Muck because his uncle, Lord Norton, promises to protect her. Lord Norton is basically a media god, who proves his power by burying a story about Charles bringing underage girls onto his yacht. Yasmin finally has to admit that her father was a monster, who looked at her the same way he looked at those girls, and she chooses the security of the Muck family to escape that shadow. By the end of the season, the beef is officially squashed, because Yasmin invites Harper to her wedding, acknowledging that they are both survivors in their own twisted ways. Robert, finally realizing he can't give Yasmin the luxury she requires, heads to California to pitch Little Labs, a psychedelic startup selling mushroom pills to venture capitalists.